The trouble with quotes. If there's one topic in Unix shell programming that gives more confusion and more anxiety to shell programmers, it's the use of the various different types of quotes. Hopefully in this module I will clarify the use of quotes for you, and this confusion will not be severe as for you as it would have been if I hadn't explained it to you. You'll still have trouble with quotes. I have trouble with quotes. Everybody has trouble with quotes. But hopefully you'll have, well, less than most. Let's begin and have a look at what we're talking about here. In Unix shell scripting there are 3 different types of quotes available. Each of these types of quotes is used to surround a piece of text. In other words, you put one quote at the beginning and one quote at the end. And then that text in the middle is said to be quoted. And you always put the same quote at the beginning as you put at the end. There are 3 different types of quotes to choose from. Let's have a look at them. The first is single quotes, which are sometimes known as apostrophes, and you can see the character on the screen there that I'm referring to. We might call it the quote character. So you can put one of those at the beginning of a piece of text and another one at the end of the piece of text, and that text is then said to be quoted within single quotes. Then we've got the double quotes, or the rabbit ears, or quotation marks, or call them what you will, which can also be used to surround a piece of text. And then of course we have what we call the back quote, which is like a single quote except it kind of faces the other way. And if you need to locate the backwards quote on your keyboard, you will probably find it underneath the escape key on the same key as the tilde character, the squiggle character. Now of course on some Unix terminals it could be anywhere, so you'll just have to hunt for it. And as I mentioned before, as a shell programmer, sorting out the various nuances of these 3 different types of quotes will bring you many wonderful hours of frustration and bug chasing. If I had $1 for every time I have gotten the number of quotes wrong. But that's all ahead of us. Let's proceed. We'll begin with single quotes. Let's see what single quotes are for. Remember that I spoke to you earlier about special characters used by the shell, and there's a bunch of them, such as the $sign, the brackets, the asterisk, the hash or the pound sign, and also including things like the space character. So here's how that has to do with single quotes. If you take a piece of text from a shell script and surround it by single quotes, then every character between the quotes is now considered to be a normal non-special character. In other words, all the special characters lose their meanings, including spaces. The only exception to that rule is another quote. Well, another single quote, that is. And the reason for that is the parser that's reading over the script has to know where the set of single quotes ends. If you're wondering what the special meaning of the space character is, it's used to determine that a parameter to a command finishes and the next parameter begins. In other words, it separates parameters from each other. Every parameter to a command is separated from the next one by a space. Now if you put quotes around that, then it is now no longer treated as a special character, so 2 parameters become 1, and so on. So this includes spaces. It even includes new line characters. A new line character in the shell means, okay, I've entered one command, now run that command and present me with another prompt. So if you put quotes around the new line, in other words you put one quote at the end of a line or somewhere on one line, and then you put a new line, and then somewhere on the second line you put the closing quote, so the new line, the enter key that you hit is somewhere between the quotes, then that new line will not be considered to be the end of the command. The actual command will finish after the second single quote. I think I should probably show you an example of what I'm talking about. I'll just do that quickly. So here's the example, echo and then single quote. Here is some, and then I'll press enter. And now look, I get a little angle bracket, which is sort of a second prompt. It's not my original prompt, but it is a prompt of some description. And I'll type in text on several lines. And let's see what we get. And we actually get it echoed out on 3 separate lines. So that is indeed possible to do that. So another example is echo the total is nearly $750, and will cause that output to appear on the screen just as you would expect. Now, there is something interesting about that. Notice that the $sign, the second one, the one next to the $750, the $sign is considered to be a special character. But when you put it inside single quotes, it loses its special meaning and is just then treated as a normal $sign. So, that's the use of single quotes. Now let's have a look at double quotes. So when you think you've got your head around all that, double quotes come along and mess up the picture a bit. Now I mentioned that single quotes actually remove all of the shell's special character features. Now this is okay, but sometimes it's a little excessive. As a convenient shorthand, we may actually prefer some of those special characters to work, and the ones that I'm talking about are using the $sign for variable substitution. So we may like the $sign to remain special. And the backwards quotes, we may like that to remain special as well, and we'll explain about the backwards quotes in the next section. And also certain constructs may be very useful to us as well, like using the backward slash character to render certain other characters non-special. I know this is very confusing, so we're going to have to look at an example. If we surround the given text with double quotes instead of single quotes, then the above 3 different types of features will still remain special, while the other characters will be non-special. So that's actually a typo on the screen in front of you. That should be the other characters are still treated as non-special. Let's look at that example.